Hey there, Gia.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kayo, and this is Let's Coffee. Let's Coffee is a collaboration between Yardstick Coffee and Daily Drink Magazine. Now, just as we're getting started, before anything else, if you are enjoying this series, maybe you've seen a couple of our other episodes, please make sure you click on the thumbs up button and you subscribe to our page so that you can get future episodes. Maybe also follow us on Instagram. We are at Daily Drink Mag on Instagram, at Yardstick Coffee on Instagram, and
Gia Palami.
on Instagram.
On Instagram.
So the idea of the show is that we just wanted to have kind of a recorded discussion of the things that we actually talk about in our lives, because in coffee we often get together and have cups of coffee, and then we end up talking about these great big ideas and these great big things, but we never record it. So Andre, the founder, one of the founders of Yardstick, approached us and said, "Hey, maybe we can do something to." Yeah. So we were actually talking about it in kind of the warm up about how our previous episode with Steve Benitez of Bose was quite long and very specific, right? So hopefully we can do that as well with you in your line, and it'll help baristas and roasters get perspective on their own fields, but for someone in maybe Steve's position or in the business owner on the business side can also understand this part of the business, and then it lets us all better understand each other.
Agree.
So let's coffee.
Let's coffee.
We're drinking a coffee today. We're here in our studios, Honeycomb, Manila, and this is our drip coffee from Day to Day.
Nice
and
wine.
Yeah, we have them in these. I think that they're sweeter in these glasses. So, Gia, how did you start out in coffee?
Okay. Actually, I was a marketing assistant for a publishing company before, like a magazine.
Okay.
And before that, I never drank coffee at all. Like, I hated it. I don't like the smell. I don't like the taste, the texture. I didn't like that it was so hot. But anyway, we were planning an event for the magazine company. And one of my coworkers brought us to this furniture shop, which was Restock. I entered the place and it was blank. Like, there was nothing inside. Just a marble table and like 2 benches. And like, for some reason, I told my coworker, I want to work here. I don't know why. Like, I just want to work here.
But how did you end up with that job in marketing? Did you study marketing?
I was a communication arts major.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm far from the food industry. Talaga. And then, so we were in the furniture shop. And then I told my coworker, hook me up, like, give me her email. I want to work here. I don't know why. And then eventually, I was the marketing manager of Restock now. And then a few days later, my boss then was like, "Oh, we're opening a pour-over bar."
Okay.
And I was like, "What's
So this is back in the beginning of Restock.
Yeah, like, there was nothing inside Restock yet. And then she was like, "We're opening a pour-over bar. Do you want to make coffee as well, aside from being a marketing manager?" And I told her straight off the bat, I don't drink coffee. And then she goes, "Let me brew you something first," because she had like the V60 thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching it and I was
What was
like,
her name?
Her name is Jackie. Ate Jackie, yeah. So she was brewing the coffee. And then I think I was amazed of like how zen she was while she was making
the
pour over,
process.
the process. And then I tasted it, and then that's when everything started. And then I enjoyed making coffee more than actually doing my real role job.
So is that how you started learning to make coffee? You learned from Jackie?
I learned from Jonathan, actually.
Okay.
Because Jonathan
who's Jonathan?
Jonathan is the owner and founder of Magnum Opus and Exchange Alley Coffee House.
Got it.
Where I work now.
Okay.
So he trained me, and like in the beginning talaga, how to make coffee and what coffee really is. Thanks, John.
So what is coffee?
Coffee?
Yeah, what's coffee?
Well, coffee is like the most basic, tiniest necessity anyone needs in a day. Like for me, it's the most simple thing that like everyone has one thing in common, and it's coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You drink coffee in the morning. You drink coffee to wake up. You drink coffee before you work out. It's such a normal thing. That's why I feel like it blows my mind. Na you can get flavors like peach or tea in coffee. I think that's why I'm still here.
So, what is coffee supposed to taste like?
Interesting. Wait lang. I think coffee is supposed
Hindi
to
ka prepared.
I think coffee, I feel like, because for me, when I describe like how I drink coffee, is like when I taste something and I feel emotions. So like I feel like when you taste coffee, it's supposed to taste like magical or just like mind blowing, not necessarily like a taste, because everyone tastes not only just coffee but food differently. That's why when you cup, you can't cup by preference. You have to be open about tasting. So I feel like coffee is supposed to taste magical.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about cupping.
Okay.
Right. So as a roaster, right? So you started as a barista.
Yeah.
Over in Restock.
Yes.
And then at some point you ended up in Exchange Alley where you are now.
Yes.
You were a barista at Exchange Alley?
I'm still a barista at Exchange Alley and also a coffee roaster.
Okay.
So I'm the head roaster of Exchange Alley Coffee House as well. Yeah.
And as a roaster, you're roasting for that cafe or for other cafes as well?
I roast for each, for Exchange Alley, as like the production roasts and the retail coffees and some of our client orders.
Okay.
But we have like a tiny roasting team, like Calvin and Gio, and like Gia roasts for Magnum, and then Calvin also roasts for each.
And what is the point of having different people doing the different roasts?
It's very labor intensive.
Okay.
Yeah, so like it's very nice to have a team to like break things up and like help each other out, and it's also nice to have like a bunch of people doing the same thing. So when we actually do cup, we're all on the same page. So we know how each roast went. We know how to discuss it more, make changes.
So you still do barista work?
Yes.
Which is great. Like I always say that in terms of career progression, a lot of baristas feel like they need to become a roaster or they need to become a trainer, right? Well, it's my belief that some people are really great baristas.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and sometimes you actually see them having trouble.
Yeah.
Like if they move on to other areas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, maybe that's also an economic thing.
Yeah.
Where
yes.
you want to be compensated for a more high level operations role.
True.
But for anyone watching, my opinion is that sales is a high operation role, and being a great barista is you're basically a salesman.
Yeah.
Right. And getting recurring business, right? But for those baristas who maybe think that they want to be a roaster, right? Maybe they're a little bit more introverted than they thought they were. Do you think it's a necessary transition, and how did it work for you?
I think for me, if you're curious about something, go for it. I don't think it's like the next step, because like I could be a barista now, but I'm not necessarily curious about the roasting side of things, but I want to compete. So it's like it's a different, like the whole coffee world is a chain or like a cycle. And I feel like what's good about coffee is you can jump from, oh, I'm a barista now, I can probably like check out producing, like farming, or maybe I can help like in the supplying side of the green beans. Like I like how coffee, there's a lot of like curiosity buttons that you can dive into, and I don't think necessarily that the next step is roasting.
But how did you end up roasting? How did you know it was right for you?
Well, for me, I just started because when I was at Restock, a lot of our regulars would bring coffee from different countries. And then that's where it sparked like that light bulb moment. Like, why does it taste? This is literally the same bean.
Same farm.
Yeah, from same farm.
Yeah.
But it's from a different roaster. So how did that happen? I think that's how I started like really getting into the whole roasting side of things.
How long ago was that?
I think that was like 2016. And then in 2017, I went to San Francisco to study roasting at Boot Coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sounds like that was kind of a turning point.
Yeah.
For you. Yes. What happened there? What was the key take home that you learned?
And when I was in San Francisco.
And why was it important to do a kind of a more structured way of learning?
I feel like because with everything I do at work, I do everything by feeling.
Mm-hmm.
When I brew, it's more of like feeling. I'm not very technical,
mm-hmm.
and I'm very like free spirited. So I needed a foundation. Like I needed discipline. So that's why I decided to go to San Francisco. We did everything there manually. And like right now, how I roast is we have a laptop. Like most of the people I know have like the laptop, the app,
mm-hmm.
like Cropster, to like help you jot down your roast profile. But when I was in the States, we had to do it manually. And I felt like I needed that also because I do things by feeling.
Yeah.
I need to like...
And there's also that aspect of sometimes when you read a chart readout, like you just say, oh, that's the way it's going, but you don't know why.
Yeah.
Right? And like kind of going through that motor,
mm-hmm.
Having to do this and then like that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like for me on the brewing side, I'm kind of like that. Like I always say some people meditate at 2 p.m. and some people, and me, I just need to make a V60.
Yeah.
Like I'll work and then my brain will turn off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just need to like do all these little things where I weigh in the 15 grams and then I weigh this.
Mini routine.
Yeah. And that it kind of becomes a centering activity, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a very zen, therapeutic thing talaga.
So that was at the start, right?
Yeah.
So did you invest in yourself to go to that school?
I'm very lucky that my parents are very supportive
mm-hmm.
of this coffee journey of mine. Both my parents are lawyers,
mm-hmm.
and I'm a coffee person.
Yeah.
No, but I'm very proud. I'm really proud, and I'm very happy that they're supportive until now. And and I feel like I'm like the people around me are. I feel like I'm not in a cage. I feel like I'm around like-minded people. So.
So let's talk about that a bit. You mean behind the bar? I mean, in the cafe operations, the each team?
Yes, I feel like the whole each team is like a family, and like we're all on this journey, not necessarily a coffee journey,
mm-hmm.
but like we're all in the same type of journey to self-discovery. I don't know. And our customers rock also. Like they're very curious, like everyone behind the bar.
So, despite becoming a roaster and becoming the head roaster, right? Is it head roaster, lead roaster? Head roaster. Mm-hmm. Becoming the head roaster over at each, you still do. You take shifts basically.
Yes.
You still have barista
important,
shifts.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it so important?
I feel like I need to connect with people. I'm an introvert. I'm shy, but it's very important to me to see customers drink the coffee I roast. Or see the customers drink my co-baristas, like coffee, like what they made. I love educating people on what specialty coffee is, especially when they have no idea what it is talaga. Because coffee is just coffee. It's very simple, it's an everyday thing. It's very normal. But specialty coffee, though, is magical. So I feel like being a barista is very important to me because you get to connect with other people and educate people and share what you know. And sometimes I learn from customers also.
So how do you do that? How do you, when you say educate the customer, like what's that process? Because it's something we talk about all the time as owners, as trainers, but on the ground, what's your experience? How's that happened? And have you maybe found a way that, okay, this is like my little trick?
Okay. Yeah. So this is what I do. When customers come in, they immediately like see the sign single origin. And then that's when it starts. You're like, oh, it's single origin, ganyan, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh, okay, it's coffee that comes from one farm, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, so what should I try? And like our default, like my co-baristas and I would always be like, so what do you want to taste? Like, do you want like something chocolatey? Do you want to try something different, like tea-like or floral? And then it starts there. And what I do is, so they pretend they like choose an Ethiopian bean.
Mm-hmm.
I'll grind the coffee and I'll immediately let them smell it. And then that's when all the questions start to like pour. And then there. That's how the education starts.
What do you do when you get that customer who's like, oh, do you have something that's not coffee?
We have chocolate. Single origin chocolate also.
So you push them towards other non-coffee beverages.
My philosophy is I don't want to force it also. Like if you want to add milk to your coffee, go ahead. It's your preference. I still drink instant coffee every morning. We were just talking about that earlier with my friends. Like, I feel like you shouldn't force someone to try specialty coffee. I feel like they should be curious in the start. And then you feed that curiosity.
Why? So why are you drinking a 3-in-1 in the morning? Like, what's that about?
I just need the kick.
Okay.
Like you just need the kick sometimes.
Okay, starter engine.
Yeah.
Starter engine. I get that. For me, like when I encounter customers who don't like coffee, and we did a pretty crazy thing for a long time where we would only serve pour overs and we would only serve hand ground, and it was we didn't have any variety or options. Like you'd come in and I would tell you what you're gonna have. Right. And then I get customers that would say, oh, I don't like coffee. Do you have something else? And what I do is I just ask them why. And if they have a legitimate answer, like, I have a pacemaker. Oh, okay.
Like, okay, you're not allowed to drink coffee. Let's not do that.
But the common answer is like either I don't like acid. Right? Like, I don't like acid, or I don't, it's too bitter. And that opens a lot of doors.
That's true.
Right?
At Restock before, we were also just a pour-over bar before we had an espresso machine. So it was hard to let people try pour-over coffee. But the one thing I did then was, oh, I'm about to make my comp of the day. Do you want to watch me make my coffee? That's how it's... And then they get curious about how it tastes like. So it's really just like, showing them and making them more curious about it. They don't necessarily have to like it. They can just smell it also.
You still do that?
I still do that sometimes.
Cool. How about being a customer? Do you ever miss that? Do you still coffee crawl?
I still coffee crawl.
Okay.
I still coffee crawl to visit also like other baristas and like, coffee friends. But I do miss being a customer because like not being a barista and just being a customer. Because now I'm hyper aware of like how they're making their coffee or like how they serve it. But it's very humbling also to be a customer again. Like you're letting them do their own thing, respecting their way of brewing, their recipe, and like you just sit there and then you take it, and then you acknowledge the fact that they worked hard for this cup.
So when you travel or you're elsewhere, somewhere where someone won't know who you are, right? Because I mean, Manila's a pretty big place. But when you
coffee people know each other.
You're talking about maybe 400 or 500 people. Right. So even if they don't know you, they kind of know you. Right. Like, oh, I know this person. So when you're not here and you're away, do you try to not be involved in the?
I definitely don't get myself involved.
Okay.
Like I let them do their thing, let them serve it. And then if they look friendly, I'll try to talk to them.
Okay.
That's the only time. Like I don't want to put pressure on them and be like, hey, I'm a barista from the Philippines also, yay! And then they're going to panic. You know, because like, oh, we have to like brew this a certain way. But I'd rather it be a pure experience.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is how you do it normally, great.
But it doesn't happen where like, because like I've tried that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. But like they seem to know
when
that I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Like
that's true.
I went to one cafe in Hong Kong. It was owned by a friend of ours, and they weren't there.
Yeah.
I didn't introduce myself or anything, and there was no way that this barista could have known. I barely spoke English.
Yeah.
But at some point during my breakfast, she came up to me and she said, "Are you a barista?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Why are you saying sorry?" And she was saying, "Oh, you know, our machine now, it's not as nice as that other machine. And like the stability, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, no, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's great. It's great. And I've been trying to put together like what happened that
triggered that thought. I feel like baristas have this way of like entering a shop and like, okay, where's the single origin menu? You know, and then the first thing you ask is like, do you have pour over or like filter? That's what I noticed with like foreign customers also who go to the shop. And then eventually that's when we ask like, do you make coffee?
Yeah.
And then that's how it starts.
I think when I really thought about it, I think it was the way I drank my espresso.
Oh, you slurp?
No, I stir it. So this is something I learned from Jay Caragay, right? Because I remember the day I met Jay. Jay is a world judge for the World Barista Championship and other world coffee events. And the day I met Jay, we went out and ate Xiaolong Bao in Green Hills.
Yes.
And then we went to go see a cafe of a relative of his, right? And it wasn't really a cafe; it was like a store that had like a coffee bar.
Yeah.
And they had this little Nespresso style pod machine.
Yeah.
And it was not like yardstick snack or morning coffee. It was like tradition, what you expect, and then they had that milk frother that spins up the milk. And he asked me if I wanted coffee, and I was like, "I'm good." And he ordered coffee. Yeah. And then he proceeded to drink the pod cappuccino like a world championship judge. Like he took the spoon and he tested the foam.
Yeah. Is it thick enough?
Yeah. He's like looking for the 1 centimeter. And then he took a sip and they rotated the cup and he took a sip and he put it down. And I was like, "Jay, what are you doing?" And, and he was like, no, you have to train yourself to taste everything the same way.
That's true.
Yeah, so that like, so that you'll always know what's going on, right? So like kind of those protocols help. And I think that was it.
that triggered the thought.
I stirred the espresso twice and I drank it from one side and the other side. So I've been trying to figure out if that's something that happens to other
I feel like
professionals.
Like at the shop we get that a lot. And that's when we go to the bar side and we're like, "You're a coffee person."
Yeah.
Huh. And then that's when we start to make friends with the customer now.
So when you travel, there seems to be a lot of people who know that you like to go to Korea. I don't know how that happened or where that comes from, but like I've heard it from like a couple people already. Yeah. What's that about?
Korea is, I feel like, where I'm supposed to be.
Interesting.
Yeah, like for some reason, I just know I'm supposed to be in Korea, basically.
Okay.
Like I feel like it's my home.
As opposed to Alabang.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because the story behind that is I went to Korea in 2016 with my mom, but I had no idea what Korea culture was. I didn't know that they had specialty coffee either. I had no idea what K-pop was, K-dramas, nothing.
Okay.
As in zero knowledge about Korea. But it's the first time that I went to a foreign country where I felt like I was a local. There was this weird feeling where I felt like I think I'm supposed to be here. Ganun. And then every year I would come back.
Okay. Did you tell your mom?
I did tell my mom.
Wow,
I was like, "This is weird. I'm going to try to live in Korea." And she was like, Why Korea? They don't speak English. I'm like, "I'll learn it. Like I have to be there." Yeah.
So how's that working out?
It's so difficult to try to live in Korea when you're not Korean.
Okay.
Yeah. But the coffee culture there is great. The people are great as well. I've made friends already there, and I just love it.
So let's talk about coffee culture there.
Okay.
Maybe like favorite cafes, maybe a favorite roaster.
Okay.
And I think ultimately, like, what are they doing there that we can learn? You know,
Okay.
How can we become better from that experience?
Okay, so first of all, my favorite coffee shop in Korea is Fritz Coffee.
Okay.
Fritz Coffee, they know what they're doing. Once you enter the shop, solid. The playlist is amazing. It smells great because they make bread as well.
Mm-hmm.
They make great coffee. Baristas are friendly. They will really try to talk to you in English even if they don't know how, just to ask if like, is your coffee okay? You know, to check up on you. And I always go there every time I visit, and it's consistently so good.
Are they roasting there as well?
They roast their own coffees as well.
Wow. So they're baking bread, they're roasting, and they're brewing.
Yes.
So it's like one big cloud of Maillard effect.
Yeah.
Just
It's
filling
just
the air.
there.
Yeah.
It's such a warm place. Also.
Yeah, and that's also the smell of home.
Yeah.
Of home,
It's very homey.
hominess. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I met the owner. His name is BK, and we talked a bit. And he actually like flies to Origin to select the beans himself. Yeah. I'm like when I'm there, I get super inspired. Everyone's just like on their thing, very serious about coffee. And the other coffee shop that I would recommend for you to go to if you go to Korea is called Mesh Coffee.
Mesh.
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 Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a very big coffee shop. They're literally like restocked. It's so small. They have like a small roaster, but they're so serious about their coffee, but you don't feel intimidated at all. I think that's what makes a good coffee shop. If you enter and you don't feel intimidated.
Yeah. So that's how maybe the shops, right?
Yeah.
How about the customers? How are their customers different?
The customers in Korea, from like what I noticed is they come in. It really depends. I feel like it's very similar to how we are here in the Philippines. Like if you're curious, they'll ask. You know, but most of them there is the same thing. Like I just need my coffee. I'm gonna bounce na like that. But what I noticed with Koreans are they're very like they're creatures of habit. Like they will only order iced Americanos. It's this like we get customers like that at each. And even if you say like, hey, do you want to try something else? They're like, no, I just want an iced Americano. Yeah. It's like, okay, got it. Respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever cupped there?
In Korea? I did when the World Championship was there.
Okay.
Because the Coffee Expo has a cupping place as well. So me, Jonathan, and Kix went cupping during the Worlds in Korea. It's a different experience. I think just because it was a pothole of different nationalities and people, but yeah, I would definitely do it again.
It's strange because the whole point of cupping is kind of to have a standard way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, it should be the same, but it's just not.
It's not.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe some of the people watching have never been to a cupping or don't know what it is or what the importance is. Maybe you can walk us through what that's like, what it does for your team, and why is it so important?
I feel like coffee cupping is very important for me because I want to check the quality, and I'm very meticulous about it also. Like I need to know if it tastes the way I wanted it to taste like while roasting. But like I feel like it's important as a team because I want everyone in our team to be calibrated the same way. So it's a very good practice for a barista to know where they stand taste-wise. Yeah. So I feel like cupping it's a very important part of being a barista / roaster / actually the whole thing. Yeah.
Is that like a self-check, or do you also use it to maybe when you're cupping your team members' coffees, or they're cupping yours? If you guys aren't tasting the same thing, how do you work that out? How do you work through that?
I feel like it's definitely like a self-check thing. I still get nervous when I cup because like, oh my gosh, you all are tasting something I'm not tasting. It's like it's very difficult to cup as well, especially if you have like preferences in your head. It's hard to just like taste it in its purest form, just like on its own without your thoughts. But what I like about cupping is it's a relaxed, open discussion always with our team. Like, oh, you taste like a veggie note? Why? Why kaya? But I know I roasted it okay, you know? And then that's when like all the theories and maybe like, oh, maybe we should like dry it longer. You know? So it's like a team effort really at each. But yeah.
Do you think that being a roaster is a difficult job?
Yes. Yes. I feel like you're in a room by yourself with coffee. I feel like physically it's difficult. Mentally it's difficult also.
Why physically?
Physically because you're like beside a roaster, like for what, 6 hours, 7 hours.
So it's
a
hot.
Day. It gets hot.
The stuff is heavy.
It's like it's dusty. You smell coffee being cooked for hours until like you don't want to smell it anymore. You know, it's like it's draining, but it's worth it after. It's also emotionally draining, like tiring because, well, for me, I want coffee to taste a certain way, and if I don't get it, I get so frustrated.
Do you ever have that thing where like, you don't want to eat the thing you cooked?
Yes.
Does it happen
Yes,
with
that
coffee
happens
as well?
to me. That happens to me, especially when I have barista shifts.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, we're gonna calibrate coffee, right? I'm going to let my co-barista do it. It'll be like, okay, I want you to calibrate it the way you want it to taste today. Don't let me try it until you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's like when you cook adobo and then you just keep tasting the adobo and then now you're full. You know, it's
That's
like
nice.
that for me.
Yeah, and there's also that, like it's as an art on the art side, right? Like as an artist, sometimes you feel the need, like you want to push your message or your agenda, right? Which is, you know, because you were saying like it's more of an art, right, for you, or like the way you conduct yourself is more as an artist, despite the fact that what you're doing is actually science, right? So there's that tendency to want to push what you wanted people to experience, and it takes a little bit of maturity to let go and understand that it's very possible that someone else has the right answer, right?
Yeah, no, I agree because that's how it is at each now. Like, I feel like I'm learning more now with my co-baristas as when I started to let go of control. Like, as a head roaster, usually I have the say, like how it's supposed to be like this, supposed to be like that. But then I'm learning slowly to let go because I've been always wanting growth for my career, like myself. And when I let go, I learn from them na. Even with brewing, like pour over, I thought I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing already. But then when someone else brews it, and then I'm like, how did you get rose water? I don't get rose water. And then they tell me how, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. So like I tell people, when they ask me to brew their coffee, I'm like, dude, you should let like Calvin do it. He knows how to put rose water out in that bean. Ganun.
So we talked about the start of your career, right? And then kind of how you transitioned into being a roaster. Now you're a roaster.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? Seoul, Korea.
Heavy. I really, really, really want to be like. I really want to like live and settle in Korea. But right now, like career-wise, I think I just want to explore. Like I want to travel and be a barista somewhere else. I want to absorb their coffee culture naman. Yeah.
That's one of the nice things about being a barista. Like I always tell people who come in, like, oh, I want to go on a gap year and find myself and whatever. I'm like, why don't you learn how to be a barista? Because one day you're going to be in that wherever you are, you're going to run out of money and you become a barista.
That's true. That's true. And also like being a barista, like what I said earlier, you connect with different people. Like you connect. I remember working at Restock, I would always talk to musicians. Yeah, because like it's near.
You're down the street from Sagiho.
Down the street, Sagiho. And then now that I work in Alabang, I talk to a lot of freelancers. So it's a very like you meet different people. So what more if you get out of the country, and then like you talk to other people from like let's say Australia. Like what kind of customers are there? You know?
And that's so you see that as like your main goal.
Yeah, I just want to like absorb different kinds of coffee cultures from different places.
Just in case there are any Korean cafe owners watching looking for a roaster, I'm very sorry, Jonathan.
Oh.
but you know our email. You know? Send us an Instagram DM. All right. On that note, like if there was someone, just one person, we ask everyone this.
Yeah.
One person in the world from any time in history or the future who you could have a cup of coffee with, who would it be and why?
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive. Or not yet living.
Damn. Am I only allowed to say like one?
Yeah, one.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'll give you one honorable mention. You can't say why. And then you can say who. You can say who your one is.
Okay, so I have to explain one and then the other one just like a name.
Honorable mention, yeah.
Okay, the honorable mention would be Mac Miller.
Okay.
Like...
Oh.
Okay. And then alive. Alive, okay. Just because like we're talking about Korea also. I would love to have coffee with one of the members of BTS.
Okay. I was so worried I wouldn't know what you would say.
Okay.
But I know BTS.
But you know BTS,
I know
right?
BTS,
They're like big now, right? Okay, so I would have coffee with BTS's Kim Namjoon.
Yeah, now I have no idea.
Okay, he's
why?
like, why? Because I love what they're doing in like the pop industry and like how they're advocating and like helping out people with mental illness. You know, like they're teaching people kids how to learn how to love themselves. You know, I love that. And like they're pushing them to like follow their dreams in a very pure and like, I like it. I like how it's so, because they also started from the bottom, you know. And I just want to sit down and be like, how are you? Are you tired? Like, are you okay? Because you're really like touching on like heavy topics here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
very cool.
Hey, what's up?
You know my number. So
DM me.
So kind of at the nexus of all of this, we find out that he's starting a cafe and he needs a roaster.
Hey, I mean, I can speak a bit. I can, help out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Gia, for joining us again. We have Gia. She's the head roaster over at Exchange Alley. They roast for a bunch of places.
Yeah.
I asked a number of questions I actually knew the answer to because I actually tasted one of your coffees last week in Eastwood in a cafe called
Salamanca. Yeah, Salamanca means magic.
Yes,
right,
it's a very Filipino-themed restaurant and cafe. But they're very friendly there and have lots of plugs and Wi-Fi and stuff. Good place to work.
Yeah.
And it was a Kenyan coffee.
Yara.
What is it?
Yara.
It was Yara. It was very sweet and there's a crispness of green apple. And it was very clear in my head. I took a picture. I sent it to Buffy right away. So you can expect that to come up as an article on Daily Drink Mag in the next couple months. But keep up the good work to you, all the other members.
Also with you guys here, I really like what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah. So please send our regards to everyone on the each team. Hello to Jonathan, special mention.
Hi Jonathan, hi Kix. Hey everyone. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Ed, Calvin, Amanda, Marby. Am I supposed to say everyone?
No, you don't have to say everyone. I'll say Gio.
Matt. Kitchen Pia.
Daily Drink Magazine and Yardstick Coffee collaborate on Let's Coffee. Our goal is to do it relatively regularly. Honeycomb was closed for some renovation, so we're open again now. Hopefully we can have one every couple weeks.
Yes.
If you'd like to join us, please make sure that you follow both Yardstick and Daily Drink Magazine on Instagram. So we'll put up the links here so that you can see those usernames, and subscribe to Honeycomb Manila on YouTube so that you can always see what's going on here. We invite you to join us, and that's about it.
Yay.
Thank you again, Gia.
Thank you so much.
I hope you had a good time. I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
And maybe 2-3 years down the line, when you're a head roaster for some cafe, some roaster in Seoul. Yeah, we can do like an on location.
Yeah, it would be so
visit
cool.
you there.
Yay.
Yeah. Until then, let's coffee.
감사합니다.
Let's coffee. Cheers.
Cheers.